And we are live. Okay.
Here we go. Have a good show.
Thank you, Matt. Play the music. Okay, everybody.
Where does yesterday's future, which is already here, meet today's future, which is about to happen, and tomorrow's future, which could be just minutes away? Welcome to Technology Revolution, the future of now, where host Bonnie D. Graham asks savvy futurists for their predictions about the tech-driven trends that are shaping our future right now. Here's your host, who will take us into the future of now, Bonnie D. Graham.
Bonnie D, live. We're waiting for a LinkedIn to come up. I'm seeing a dark screen here. Let me make sure we refresh. Okay, welcome, everybody. There you are. Everybody wave hello to LinkedIn. Go ahead, Sven and Aparna and Sigurlin and Joe and John. We have a packed house. I don't usually have 5 people on the show, and I'm so excited. We're going to have a healthy show. Why? Because our topic today is the future of health care and life sciences and AI. We're covering AI every single week with a different industry. And I want to do a quick shout out to Joe Miles, who I've known for years. And Joe has assembled a wonderful panel of futurists for us today. So I'm going to read an opening poem. I hope you all like it. Full disclaimer, I used ChatGPT. I said, put it a little opening, a little closing, and then I gave it a full bio for each of you. Do you know how long your bios are? 1,000 characters each? It was this big. And after I read the poem, and I edited it and took a lot of time in that afterwards, I'm going to have a quiz. If you've seen the show before, don't answer. But I'm going to have a quiz on how long you think it took ChatGPT to create the original poem that I worked on. So here we go. Let's get started. All right. Welcome to Technology Revolution, the future of now radio. Today, it's the future of healthcare and AI that we want to know. A savvy predictions roundtable with Bonnie D and Scarlett Mike at her side, welcoming life sciences futurists, that's all of you, for our Into the Future ride. Opportunities are vast with AI's embrace, healthcare's future, a boundless space, personalized therapies, tailored care, remote solutions emerging everywhere, predictive analytics with AI looking ahead, medical imaging and diagnostics helping those who are sick in bed. Operational efficiency gets an AI boost too, streamlining processes so doctors could do what they do. Here we go. Joe Miles, wave hello. Joe Miles strides with vision keen. Did you know you had vision keen, John? Have you seen an optometrist? From athlete's grit to business scene, he leads with heart and a team so bright, guiding health with AI's might. I hope you like that, Joe.
Very nice. Very nice.
Good. I rent the poems out. We'll negotiate a fee. Next is Aparna Seksaria. Welcome, Aparna. Solving with flair. Pharma's puzzles are laid bare. Driving clouds at AI spark for agile chains and futures mark. Aparna, I hope you like that.
That's awesome.
Oh, good. Awesome. I'll take awesome. Okay. Sven Krause is here. Sven, wave hello. Sven Krause's tech prowess strong. Pharma and biotech sing his song. From SAP to Hillrom's grace, AI's potential Sven does embrace. What'd you think? Like it?
I couldn't have said it any better.
Okay, there you go. Sigurlin Atladottir is here. Her path is so clear, building teams in life sciences sphere. Automation's magic in her hands, freeing minds across the lands. Sigurlin, I hope you like. Oh, she's smiling. Good.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh, good. I'll take awesome and amazing. We're doing well here. I'm batting 1,000,000. John Wilson, wave hello. Strategy sage, marketing health in the digital age. From Google to Elevance's quest, AI's promise John puts to the test. Do you like that, John Wilson? You like that? Okay, just a nod. We'll take that. In this realm where futures gleam, tech and health shape one bright dream. Stick around, listen and see as Bonnie D, that's me, explores AI's boundless sea. So what'd y'all think? We get a thumbs up from our poem. What do you think? Pretty cool?
There you go.
Okay, I got it. Thank you, Joe. It didn't used to do that. Now, how many minutes, just put up a number, don't say anything. How many minutes do you think it took AI to write the core of that poem that I then edited? How many minutes? If you don't think it's, okay, 1 minute from Sven, 1 minute. Okay. All right. Now let's go to how many seconds do you think it took? Let's bring it down to seconds. How many seconds did it take? Put up a hands.
120.
30 seconds. Okay. 6 seconds. How many, Sigurlin? How many you got? Okay, what is that? 3? 30. Okay. Joe, how many seconds?
I had 10.
10. And John, how many?
Probably like 15, 20 seconds.
Okay, I'm going to shock you all. It used to take 3 seconds, then it took 2.5. And I was instructed by my friend Dan Geller, who's a tech guru, an AI guy, not to be polite. But Joe, you know me, I'm a nice girl from New York, and I always say please and thank you, even if it's just a chatbot. Please, hello, ChatGPT, how are you today? I need an opening monologue poem. Can you help me, please? Oh, yes. And we go back and forth. Anyway, it went from 2.5 seconds, and I'm still polite. It is less than 1 second to get that poem. I barely hit. I put in all your bios, Sven's bio and Joe's bio and Aparna's bio and Sigurlin's bio and John's bio. It's this big. And I hit the submit button. I barely hit return and the poem is there. I just wanted to share that with you. So ChatGPT is having a good health day. There you go. So let's go around the table and get to know all of you. My audience around the world would love to know, why are you here? What's your passion for healthcare, for life sciences, and for AI? So we're going to do really, really brief bios because we have a lot of predictions to go through. Joe Miles, you're my hero today. I didn't tell you to behave yourself, did I, when we started, Joe? I usually pick on somebody. You're in today. Joe, I would like you to give us your bio. Tell us just a brief history of your health with life sciences and why you care about AI. Joe, I'm putting you on speaker view. Go ahead.
All right. Well, great meeting. Great seeing you again, Bonnie, and excited to be on the podcast today. I come to you from UiPath, where I lead the life science industry team. I've been in the life science sector for many, many years, way more than I probably care to admit at times. I had previous roles at Google as well as at SAP, where I spent many, many years, and always really focused on life sciences and healthcare as well. But my primary focus has really been life sciences over the years. I think kind of going back to your point about why, what took me here, whatever. I was originally started my career in supply chain manufacturing, real operational view. I have a MBA in operations management and was more in light manufacturing and distribution and so forth. And an opportunity to move into tech back around the Y2K time or so forth. And I think what really had me hooked is when I started engaging with professionals, and you start hearing them talking about getting up every morning for the opportunity to save someone's life and really change someone's life. And I found out that that's actually very, very real for many, many professionals across the industry. And I think I was hooked at that point, and just the opportunity to do what we do, to have the impact on people's lives, as personalized as it is, no pun intended, but is really, I consider both a privilege and an honor to have the opportunity to do that. And so it's been an incredible ride the last couple decades, and I really look forward to continuing that and working with the industry to drive. At this time is pretty wild with the AI, what's going on right now. So it's a pretty remarkable time.
Thank you. Wild ride. Thank you. I like that for a good introduction of a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. Thank you, Joe. And it's lovely to see you again. Aparna, you and everybody else are new to me, so I'm excited to welcome you. And I'd love to squeeze your whole life history in life sciences and healthcare into 2 minutes, please. Aparna, you're on speaker view. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Bonnie. It's nice to meet you all. And it's my pleasure to be on this panel. I know I missed the last minute here. I have 18 years of experience in life sciences, pharma, and I wore multiple hats. I started my career with consulting. So pretty much I was solving the customer problems. And then I moved on to the customer side, which is the clinical trial sponsor side of the house, where I was working with business hands in hand. And I was doing digital transformations, and then finally back to SAP, and I'm leading the R&D sector over there. My passion for solving customer challenges has been there for decades, and I would consider this when the cloud was really meant for really raining, not really storing the data. That is when I entered into the SAP and business process level, and since then I've been working closely on transformations, and AI is a field that has been exciting for me for the past 5 years. I know AI has been the buzzword in the last 1 year, but it's been there in the pharma and life sciences world for quite some time. And very excited to be part of this journey, and looking forward for what pharma can pick up from this. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Nice to meet you. Sven, I was sure you had been on one of my shows years ago, but it was a different Sven or a different Mr. or Ms. Krause. So forgive me. So we put the names together and now I'm meeting you for the first time. Sven Krause, would you please tell us who you are? Welcome.
Yes. And Bonnie, obviously I've heard many great things about you, and great to be here on the panel today. So Sven Krause, I'm the president for Partex here in North America. We're a AI company for drug discovery. I know we'll talk more about it today. Joined fairly recently. I spent a lot of my time in consulting, working with pharma, biotech, and medtech. Joined then a health tech company here in Chicago, where we actually applied AI every single day, predicting patient deterioration, for example, or leveraging imaging data and interpreting it, helping physicians in the field. I then worked a bit in investment healthcare broadly, and then joined recently Partex. So I've been close to the life sciences and healthcare for a long time. To be honest, there's always a personal story that brings people there. There have been many in my life, various family members, close friends that have been impacted by either rare diseases or very public diseases. But it's something that's near and dear to my heart to try to bring technology to hopefully increase longevity and improve patients' lives. Has always been at the center of what we're doing. So very, very excited to be here and talk about how maybe in this case technology can help us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And I hope all of your outcomes of the patients and your families were positive. We're just gonna say that. Thank you for your story. Sigurlin, welcome. Tell us who you are. There you go. You're on.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Sigurlin, and I have spent my career in the pharmaceutical industry, and really in a specific part of the pharmaceutical industry, which is the technical operations. This is the actual factories, this is the manufacturing, this is supply chain, this is the process development. And the way that I like to think about it, it's the place where we're able to translate the most amazing medical innovations and the really, really cool research that's coming out. And the space where I operate in is where we are able to translate this into true medical innovations that make a difference to actual patients' lives. Because this is where we're able to industrialize it. This is where we're able to bring it out and really make it useful for hundreds and thousands of millions of patients. And that's a really, really amazing space to be in, to be able to, be the translation of making things real, of bringing it into the world and making it actually help people. I was working within the factory. I've been leading big teams within the factory here at Roche. Then I've been working for our manufacturing strategy at a more global level. And currently my role is to deploy, develop, identify the areas where we can use AI and automation solutions within our operations to do the job that we want to do, bring the medical innovations into reality even faster and even better.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to meet you, and I will do my best to pronounce your name properly. Sigurlin. Did I get it right this time? Say it again.
Sigurlin. It's a tough name. I mean,
Sigurlin.
my name, like myself, yeah, I'm from Iceland, and it's tough if you're not native Icelander to speak this name actually properly. So you're getting really, really close. So you're doing a good job.
Thank you. You may be the first person from Iceland I've ever had on my show in all these years. So welcome again for that reason too. And let's go around the table. John Wilson is here. That's a name I can pronounce. I used to work for a man named John Wilson, who's probably 3 times your age. You long ago and far away in my first job, I'm an early woman in tech, John. I was coding in COBOL on a Xerox Sigma 6 CP5 back in the key punch days. Let's not go there. Nobody even knows what I'm talking about. Maybe Joe. John Wilson, putting you up on speaker view. Let's hear from you. Who are you? Why are you here? Welcome.
Well, thanks, Bonnie. I'm really happy to be here. And I love the fact that you do these panels. So I currently work at Elevance Health. Elevance used to be Anthem. We did a big rebrand. And I'm a director of marketing strategy, leading our Medicaid and Medicare lines of business. I think for me, healthcare has been a thing for me for the past 15 years. And what got me into it was my mom was an RN for over 40 years. And so for me, it was very personal, similar to what Sven said. And my parents are diabetic, I have a sibling who's diabetic. I think really, how can we look at the whole person? And Elevance is very invested in this, but I think in general, metabolic health is going to be very important over the years. How we leverage AI to be able to solve some of those problems, I think it's a complete paradigm shift. And so we have a really significant opportunity to tackle this. And so I'm really excited about what we can do.
Thank you very much. Joe. I'm so pleased everybody is so passionate about this topic and about improving outcomes and improving health. And as we know, our society all around the world, I believe, is living longer. We want quality of life, and that's based on health. So I appreciate all of you being here. Now let's go to the part of the show where I've asked you to bring me a fictional movie or TV character quote or a song lyric I'm going to read your quote. I'm starting with Joe with a little tiny bit of background and then take about 2 minutes and relate the quote to our topic. As far off field and as far remotely different from the topic as it is, just have a little fun with it. And that way we'll get to have a little bit of pop culture and learn a little more about you. So Joe has sent a quote from Peter Clemenza, played by Richard Castellano. The Godfather, the only scene shot in New Jersey's Liberty State Park in Jersey City. I don't know if you knew that, Joe. Peter was Sonny's godfather and a Corleone crime family capo. And here's just a quick scene. Clemenza takes Paulie, I won't give into all the details, on a long ride. You know what when the mafia takes you on a long ride, you all know where that's going. To punish him for the attack on Vito. Clemenza says this dark, humorous line after shooting him. I'll get to the line in a second. Okay, the line was improvised by the actor based on a suggestion by his co-star and wife, Ardell Sheridan. And I'm going to read the line. Leave the gun, take the cannoli. Oh, Joe, this has got to be one of the funniest lines ever. I'm not sure everybody's laughing yet. One of the funniest lines ever from The Godfather. I watched the scene. It's a riot. Before they want to leave any evidence there. Joe, what does this have to do with healthcare and AI? Talk to me.
Well, Bonnie, you should know after all these years, I try to bring a little tongue in cheek to the show. I know you would appreciate that. But for someone who tries to live his life by lines from The Godfather, the line made total sense to me. I think in many respects, my son also follows in that same kind of mantra. But I think where I was going with that was, as kind of somewhat ridiculous the analogy is in some respects, really for me it was about stay focused, right? Stay focused on the key thing, right? For him, the cannoli was the key value driver. But it just more broadly, at a time when the shiniest of shiny new toys is now upon us in AI, I think it's really imperative that we stay focused on the outcomes. We stay focused on patients. We stay focused on driving value at a time when we can be consumed by the shiny new toy of AI and what it means. And that's not even getting into any of the responsible AI and the ethical side of AI from that perspective. And all of the, to John's point around, we are in a remarkable time for all of us to be at the crux of this industry with this new technology coming. It is going to it already has dramatically impacted the lives of patients across the world. And we see so much opportunity. Yet at the same time, let's just remember to stay focused on the priorities and the outcomes, and really just making patients healthier, saving patients' lives, and driving just more consequential outcomes from that perspective. So.
Thank you, Joe. I was intrigued with that quote and how you were going to tie it up. And I've never heard anybody quite say AI, the shiny new toy. And it's very, very well put comment, because it is shiny new. Listen, when ChatGPT came out almost 2 years ago, it was the shiny new toy. Everybody wanted to try it. We didn't know what it was going to do. We didn't know the capabilities. We didn't know the limitations, but it was fun. And now look at how AI is part of our lives every day. But we still like our shiny new toys. And thank you for that. Thank you for that commentary. Appreciate that. Let's go to Aparna has sent a quote from Janine Matthews, the leader of the erudite faction, played by the lovely Kate Winslet. The Divergent series, 2014 dystopian sci-fi action film series in a dystopian and post-apocalyptic Chicago. People are divided into 5 factions based on human virtues. Beatrice Pryor is warned that she is divergent and will never fit into any of the factions. She soon learns a sinister plot is brewing in the seemingly perfect society. Janine Matthews is the leader of the faction erudite solely based on her IQ score. I'm going to stop there. Here is the quote by Janine Matthews. The future belongs to those who know where they belong. Oh, Aparna, if only. I'm still trying to figure that out. Go ahead. Tell us what this quote has to do with our topic. Go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, it is in continuation to what Joe was mentioning, that you need to have focus, but focus on what? So future belongs to those who know where they belong. That means you need to have a vision of what you want to be, where you want to be in the next 5 years, 10 years, whatever the future looks into. Whether it is faster time to market of the release of the clinical trial, or making your supply chain more efficient, where is that you want to be? Because market is now flooded with AI technologies. There are plenty of LLMs. There are so many things that you can quickly adopt, but if you do not know where you want to go and what the future belongs to you, and unless you create that fictional identity as a company, as a person, or where you want to go, you will not be able to transition or focus on what you want to do. So That quote actually resonates with me on a personal level as well. Unless you have a vision of what you want to be, you cannot really do and focus on what you should be focusing on, whether it is your strengths or working on your weaknesses. Or as a company, if I'm looking at a pharma regulatory company, I want to use AI. That's what I keep hearing from all my customers. But use AI for what? That's a question that always remain unanswered. So don't be in a me to all movement kind of thing where you want to quickly adopt AI, but have the focus where you want to belong, whether you want to be adept in your clinical trials, adept in your supply chain strategy, have a better procurement strategy. So there are plenty of AIs that can help you go there, but have that in mind. That's so it's actually connecting Joe Miles focus to where you belong. So it's in continuation. Yeah.
Thank you. Good tie-in. Appreciate that. Let's go to Sven. Sven has picked a quote from Sheldon Lee Cooper, PhD, SCD, played by Jim Parsons. Oh my, he was the narrator in the Young Sheldon series, which I'm very sorry to say they just finished. I love that one. Big Bang Theory, CBS TV sitcom, ran from September 24th, 2007 to May 16, 2019. 12 seasons, 279 episodes. Oh my goodness gracious. Sheldon is a fictional character, and it's spin-off Young Sheldon, as I said. I'm just going to read the line here. There's a fine line between wrong and visionary. Unfortunately, you have to be a visionary to see it. That's kind of a tautology, isn't it, Sven? It's a circular reasoning going around the circle there. Sven, what does this have to do with our topic? Go ahead.
Thank you, Bonnie. I've been a huge fan of the show Big Bang Theory and especially Sheldon Cooper for a long time. For two reasons. Obviously, he's a theoretical physicist and has a fantastic IQ and a very limited EQ. The other thing I really like about him is he tells you directly what he thinks at all times, which I personally really enjoy. Being German, that's just how we live anyway. But I think the message here is really, we're dealing with something here with a technological revolution. I think all of us are now interacting with AI on a daily basis, thanks to ChatGPT and Gemini and others. As you mentioned earlier on your poem, within a few seconds you get something produced that maybe in the past would have taken you days to produce. So it has become very tangible for us in our daily lives. I look at it even bigger, and that's the visionary component of this, right? It's easy to drive some efficiency and focus on a small process and try to get additional process efficiency and effectiveness in there. There's a bigger component here, which is really what actually should change and how can we maybe rethink the way we operate today. And we're operating within, what I broadly call drug discovery and drug development. So something that is a very, very lengthy, up to 12-year plus process, very costly process. And it takes a long time for us to bring medicines to patients, right? Especially if you have family members that are impacted by rare diseases or anything else, then getting those medicines out and drugs out to our patients is something that's highly important. So can we actually use AI and technology here to accelerate that process? So that's something that we focus on at Partex. What we're seeing, and something that is fairly new, is that drugs are now in the clinic, right? So you think about the clinical process of discovery, and then you actually have the complexity of translating that into the biology of a patient within the clinic. Now they are the first AI invented and created drugs in the clinic. That's a huge tangible result of how technology and AI and machine learning is being leveraged actually to impact patients directly. And it's something that is, very, very much the focus of Partex and other companies in the market. And I'm excited for the possibilities that are out there, and the benefits hopefully to the patient population.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Let's go to Sigurlin. I think I finally got a little closer on your name. I'm working on it. Be patient with me. You've picked a quote from Professor Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore, played by Richard Harris, speaking to Harry Potter, played, of course, by Daniel Radcliffe. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, 2002 fantasy film. Let's just leave it there. The story follows Harry's second year at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, where the heir of Salazar Slytherin, I hope I said that right, opens a chamber of secrets, unleashing a monster that petrifies the students. It was the second highest grossing film of 2002 with $878 million worldwide. Oh my goodness. Here's the line Sigurlin has selected. It's our choices, Harry, that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Bonnie. So the thing is, we now have in our hands this, shiniest of all shiny new toys. It's this transformative technology. It has this amazing new capability, this amazing new skill that we have as a world, as humans. And whenever we have a new power as humans, we need to make choices of what to do with it and really, how to put it into action. And we're really, really clever animals, but we have this really imperative to keep getting even smarter. And we have to make ethical choices, talking about ethical AI, on how to build and how to use our shiny new toy. And this Harry Potter world, if anybody who's knows the series, the books or the films, that the main message of that entire story is about the importance of love and about the importance of caring for each other and kind of human relationships. And I think this is something that we really need to keep in mind as we explore and test and figure out what we're actually doing and how we're using this new technology, especially in our space in healthcare. I mean, our space is all about caring for the people that are important for us. So, for us, maybe even more than others, it's really important to think about how we use this shiny new toy that we have.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the quote. We're getting really classic quotes today. Let's see what John Wilson has in store for us. John has picked a quote from Jedi Knight Qui-Gon Jinn, played by Liam Neeson. Who doesn't love Liam Neeson and all of his various permutations in music? To young Anakin Skywalker, Star Wars, The Phantom Menace, 1999. Qui-Gon Jinn, I hope I said that right, a Force-sensitive human male. Oh my goodness, I'd love to meet one of those. Sorry. Was a venerable, if maverick, Jedi Master who lived during the last years of the Republic era, wise and respected member of the Jedi Order. He was offered a seat on the council, but rejected it to follow his own path. There you go. Here's the quote. In parentheses, always remember, your focus determines your reality. Oh, John, this is big. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think, Bonnie, this really spoke to me because at the end of the day, if we remain focused on what our true priorities are and our North Star, if you will, then I think that often leads to the strategy, the tactics, et cetera, that are necessary to make it real. And I think there's a lot of noise, right? So it's really easy to unfocused, right? Become unfocused and kind of unmoored. And so I think that we have to be able to understand what we're really trying to accomplish, and then everything else can kind of fall into place.
Thank you very much. Okay, I appreciate all of your interesting quotes. Thank you. I think we had some common themes in there, which often happens on a serious topic like this. Now we're going to go into predictions, and we are right on time. This is great. So thank you for being brief. Joe Miles, I've picked your prediction number 2. I put it in the chat for you. So here we go. Remember, everybody, if you want to comment briefly on what Joe has to say, raise one of your nice fingers at me, the one I won't respond to, and I will see you. Or just put in the text, call me, I have something to say. Okay, so Joe says, access to AI assistance with a TS at the end, not CE, in life sciences is going to explode and transform the consumer healthcare experience. AI will simplify and enhance data-driven patient engagement by identifying insights from real-time streaming data. Joe, that's a big one. Go ahead, unpack for us, please.
Well, I think what's fascinating right now, what's going on, is that the technology continues to evolve, and it's evolving at a pace that is pretty remarkable. Our product team, our technologists, every 3 to 4 months or so, we're seeing a complete reshuffling of new capabilities and new platforms and so forth. So as you start to look at the marketplace now, you're already starting to see the different AI, the LLM, the long language models, the BAR, the ChatGPTs of the world, the Gemini. They're already starting to parse out based on their own capabilities and how they've been trained and where they might be more efficient or more effective with a higher level of predictive accuracy than other models. And so not only are organizations now having to figure out, well, what's the use case I want to use, but they also need to think about, well, what is the appropriate LLM to use in that construct as well, which adds another level of complexity given the pace of change. And for life sciences, a regulated industry, that's a really difficult thing to manage. So we're already starting to see a bit of a maturity curve. So for someone like UiPath, who is help enabling AI-powered automation, and we're bringing AI to organizations in a controlled manner so they can have governance and visibility and transparency on that, that starts to take on a really interesting perspective, especially from a maturity point of view. So where organizations have started maybe on their automation journey of just simple RPA type of automation, now have evolved into leveraging your intelligent document processing scenarios, right? Or then from there adding generative AI into those intelligent document processing, so we have more of a very honed end-to-end process to ultimately looking at what is now being referred to as kind of agent-to-agent type of interactions, where these digital assistants now are very intuitive. You're allowed to have a queryable interface back and forth. It's now starting to really transform the interaction. And when we start to get to the level of where the agents are talking to agents, it's going to take that to yet another level of reducing complexity, improving the interactions. They're going to become that much more efficient. And it's really going to be, again, I think the ethical side of that's what makes people a little bit nervous. But I think from a productivity and from just a capability perspective, it's going to be a pretty remarkable ride that we're going to see. We're already starting to see some of that emerge, which is really exciting. From the UiPath perspective, we're seeing some tremendous use cases and tremendous opportunities from that perspective. So,
thank you, Joe. Sven wants to comment. Unmute yourself, Sven. Please go ahead.
Just one addition here. Joe and I have history, had the pleasure of working together in the past. One of the things I loved about the way Joe approaches this, it's not just about improving an existing process right there. I think one of the quotes that we always laughed about together was, if you have a shitty process and you digitize this, you will end up with a shitty digital process. What I always loved about Joe's approach is like, take a step back and rethink, are you actually doing the right things, and not just further automate or put intelligence into something that is maybe a shitty process. So I think that's the important message here, is like, take a step back and maybe consider a totally different approach to things.
Sven, back in the day when I was a programmer analyst, when you were a programmer and an analyst in the same job, you did everything. You coded, you analyzed, you put out reports, you did everything. We had a saying called GIGO, and that was garbage in, garbage out. I think that's a more polite way of saying what you just shared with us. There you go. Thank you very much, Joe. Anybody else? I'm going to move on. Okay. Aparna. Thank you, Joe. Aparna, I'm looking at prediction number 1. You say successful AI adoption. This goes to what Joe just said about the scary part about AI. People are still a little bit scared, or a lot. Aparna says successful AI adoption in life sciences hinges on building and adopting zero trust technologies. I think this is an important follow-up to that. Aparna, please unpack this for us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thanks for the question, Bonnie. So just to define what zero trust is, you don't trust whether it is an inside source that is accessing the data, or it's an outside source that's accessing the data. So zero trust technologies have been in place for a decade, more than a decade. So whether it is a network security, whether it is a laptop security, so security world and authentication world has used zero trust technologies for quite some time. But when it comes to adopting AI, it should go one leg beyond adopting zero trust technologies. It's not only have a zero trust in the data, but also trust and verify. That's the second step. I think we have been speaking about verification of AI algorithms as a common theme as well. When it comes to AI, it not only has access to the data, it is making its own interpretations of the data. It can interact with the users. It can talk to applications. And with 2023 being the year of AI and ChatGPT and OpenAI, we are seeing an increasing number of companies actually trying to adopt AI in silos, meaning a supply chain would try to adopt AI, procurement wants to adopt their own AI, everybody wants their own AI for a quick win. But what it's going to do to the system is inadvertent access of the data. That means someone who should not have access to the data, or someone who should not be looking at the results of the AI application would be getting the access. So that is where this prediction comes from. We being in life sciences, we are very cautious of adopting a new technology, and we should still continue that trend and should not go fast into adopting some AI technology that might prove pretty costly at a later point of time. So having built not only identification of business use cases for AI, but when you are implementing AI use cases, look for zero trust technologies. Identify where your security system should look like. Is AI accessing the right amount of data or not? because we are still at a very early stage of looking at AI. And the recent, I would say, some news article on AI, which is not related to pharma and biotechnology, but the Scarlett Johnson's use of voice, where she said that the AI, OpenAI, was trying to use Scarlett Johnson's voice for OpenAI producing the results for it. So that is a very classic example of where AI is still. That means there is data that can be replicated and which should not be accessed can be accessed. So I would say it should be very cautious. And we being in the life sciences, pharma world, and particularly clinical trials, should exercise that amount of caution when we are doing an AI adoption. Have first your zero trust technologies in place, build with zero trust. And once you build the zero trust processes in place, then verify the AI as well. It goes a very long step. So not just taking the forecast number from AI technology with a fancy algorithm on clinical trials, but verify that, bombard it with multiple AI technologies, and then have the verification in place before you really adopt AI. That's my prediction.
Thank you. That was an interesting sideline you brought, a sidebar about Scarlett Johansson. They wanted to hire her to be the voice of a chatbot, and she refused. And then they hired an actress who had a similar voice. And there was some confusion. I don't know whether her lawsuit has been dropped or not. I haven't read about it recently, but very, very
But the adoption of OpenAI is moved by a month now. They cannot release any voice system until this confusion is cleared. So
interesting. I wish they would use my voice. I love it. Anyway, let's go to Sigurlin. You wanted to? Yes, I'll give you a different one. Let's go to Sven's right now. So Sven, you picked you've given us a date. How exciting. You say by 2030. Okay, everybody, we're now in middle of 2024, so 6 years to go. Patients will have, and air quotes, normal interactions with AI agents about their symptoms and any questions and follow-ups, and will experience an empathetic, now that's a word we don't hear with AI very often, Sven, do we? Empathetic and intelligent diagnosis, preparing a human doctor for validation and the human personal touch. Based on patient history, symptom details, voice analysis, image information, multimodal, trained medical LLM will provide the most likely diagnosis. It'll be there'll be like password resets in enterprises. 80% are just user errors. Oh my, Sven, unpack, please. I got a lot in here. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bonnie. The reason I attach a date to it, right, it's much easier for people to work towards something if there's a date attached to it, right? It started with 1985, right? Very famous book. We're talking, 2030 right now. It might be 2050. Some of it is already there. But since we're talking about visionary ideas here of how AI can change our lives, I put a date out there of 2030. But the reality is there have been actually very successful tests already about how AI interactions that are mimicking doctor interactions with their patients have been more empathetic and more successful with the patient in called Net Promoter Score, user scores, than actual doctors, right? So there have been experiments out there that have tested the patient interaction and their diagnosis and their reactions. And I think the number was 30 or 40% higher empathy by the AI than a regular doctor. There are various reasons for that: overworked doctors, right? Too many patients, etc. But I think the core here is that we have the possibility now, and it will only increase, to ingest a significant amount of data, harmonize the data. We're working at Partex very much with what we call equitable health data and patient data. The ability to read image data, for example, interpret image data. We real-time analyze voice data as we're interacting with a doctor, for example, and the AI can analyze, certain tonations and certain waves of the voice to potentially predict things like neurodegenerative diseases. We obviously have access to the EHRs and EMR patient records, and then any interactions that are being transcribed with the patients or so. All of it together, and that's why we call it multimodal. So you have image data, voice data, transcribing data. All of that together can actually give you an image of a patient that allows you much better interpretation of potential diagnosis of what they're coming forward with. So for the longest time, it will be certainly a doctor and AI interacting, right? So when we think about, your annual exam, one of the most common cancers is, breast cancer, for example. Annual exam, image recognition, image diagnosis together with the doctor have been much more successful than just the doctor or just an AI. So we'll see some of that just becoming absolutely common and normal. And the interactions of those agents will be, as you interacted with your ChatGPT, will only get better. And I think the empathy is something that an LLM can perfectly mimic and will make people feel, warm, welcome, and listened to, etc. And taking as much time as the patient wants versus a doctor that's trying to get you out of the door after 15 minutes. So I think the reason I say this is a bit like an example, like an enterprise where password resets happen, 80% of the tickets that are happening in enterprises, that's what people call in for, right? Is a password reset. A lot of the interactions with the doctor could be solved by very simple interactions with an AI agent that are smart and empathetic. There are other cases that are more complex where AI can actually identify something maybe that a doctor might oversee. I think this will be a great opportunity both for healthcare providers as well as the patients.
Thank you. Joe, comment. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think Sven, as he normally does, makes some great points. I would take that even the different ways in which those agents will start to, I think, play out will be really fascinating. And Sven hit on a number of those. Another area, which I think, as we start to think about things like rare diseases and the challenging nature of diagnosing some of those rare diseases, given that a physician may never have seen a patient with that condition in their entire life. So identifying it and AI's ability to be able to go through a medical record, to be able to look for those not only overt, lab-based symptoms or lab-based tests, but some of those other intangibles that sometimes lead to diagnosis of some of those rare disease scenarios, I think will be really interesting. And I think that will continue to allow us to spread health equity in a much more efficient way, really across major geographies. You don't have to have that PhD, legendary oncologist. Everyone can actually have access to that, given what AI can really develop.
Glad you brought up health equity. Sigurlin, you wanted to make a comment? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about it from a slightly different perspective. How do we get from here to that future state? And one of the things that I think about a lot within my context is documentation, which is super boring, right? Nobody likes documenting, but this has to happen all over the place. I mean, it happens within my context, a maintenance engineer goes down to the floor and then, that action needs to be documented in some way, shape, or form. The doctor, one of the reasons why the doctor kind of wants to get you out in 15 minutes is because that doctor is going to have to spend 5 to 10 minutes documenting that interview and making sure this data gets into the system so that, again, we'll be able to use that data to make better predictions in these future scenarios that you were just describing. So I find it actually really exciting to think about how these new AI technologies that are able to listen to us, understand what we're saying, they're able to look at what we're doing and interpret it. These are methods through which we can actually completely eliminate the need for this documentation, which, as everybody on this call knows, when we don't have good data, we're not going to get good results. And so much of this data that we're talking about here, partially it's, of course, in, scientific papers and, in accessible formats. But part of it is actually in the brains and of people that are experts in what they're doing. So I think there's actually a huge opportunity, which is, just kind of coming around the horizon now, which is around, let's take this burden of getting this knowledge out of people's hands, literally, where they kind of have to put this information down by hand and put it into, an AI that actually observes what's going on and then is able to extract the most salient pieces of it and get the data operational, in a hopefully an even more future term scenario.
Thank you. That's your prediction that you wanted. I didn't want to pick that one, but you wove it in so beautifully, Sigurlin. I appreciate that. And I will tell you that my doctor and his, she's a practical nurse. I thought she was a PAPN, RN, and they're typing while they're talking to me into the laptop that's in the office. Within an hour of my leaving their office, I get an email that says, summary of the notes from your visit, with the vitals that the other person, the intake person, took. I wish AI would say to me, we know you were here last week and we know you gained half a pound. We're not going to weigh you this week. I would love that empathy from AI, but they insist on weighing me every damn time. Anyway, so Sigurlin, thank you very much. We are running out of time and I want to squeeze in a prediction from John Wilson. So let me move ahead here. John says, AI will incorporate lifestyle factors into preventative care, potentially predicting and preventing diseases based on diet, exercise, and habits in the next decade. I love when you put a time on that. John, 2 minutes, go.
Yeah, thanks, Bonnie. I think it goes back to what I said earlier about metabolic health. It's, how are we looking at that interplay between lifestyle behaviors, whether it's nutrition, diet, exercise, but then also what we can do from a, medical perspective, whether it be pharmaceutical, clinical, et cetera. And so I think we can do a better job of pulling all that in together. Elevance, we talk a lot about whole person health, and that's kind of where we're headed. It's not just what we have access to now, it's how are we looking at the intersection of all this and how we can help influence all these behaviors. And there's a lot more we can do. One thing that's becoming very popular now is functional health. And again, it's about the metabolic part. It's about pulling all these disparate things together so that we can better understand how we're operating. What does personalized medicine mean for those who are facing diabetes or other chronic conditions? And then how are we better pushing forward on a path for them to get healthy? So I see this AI playing a really important role here. For us, we're looking at initially more of member engagement and how we can do that, but that's just the beginning. I think it goes so much further because you look at all the access that your insurer has when it comes to data. And then it's what strategic partnerships are we making with others, not just providers, but others beyond that, so that we can continue to push forward, increase people's health. So I'm really excited about what can happen. And I think that we have a long way to go, but AI changes the paradigm.
Thank you very much. Sigurlin, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited about what you're saying, John. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we see with, like each individual intervention that a medical professional has at their hands, a pharmaceutical intervention or a healthcare intervention or, maybe a surgical intervention, they're almost, it's hard for the medical professional to, offer these all as a package, so to speak. So what you were talking about was this future ecosystem setup where we think about all the different agents within the ecosystem that are contributing these different pieces. And if I may kind of take maybe a current example, many of us will know the drug Ozempic, which is the weight loss drug, right? And we also know there's been some research that says, if for the patients who are taking Ozempic, it's actually really, really good to do some resistance training at the same time, because otherwise a lot of muscle mass is lost along with that fat mass, right? But it's kind of hard actually right now we have no way the doctor has no way other than saying, hey, here's your Ozempic, and I recommend that you get a gym subscription and kind of start doing a resistance program. But there's no full kind of full round package to offer this right now. And I think this is an opportunity to think about this as a full platform that really offers the full ecosystem coming together, offering all of these different components, and then, helping us keep ourselves accountable, reading what we're doing and helping keep ourselves accountable, and maybe doing that empathy that you were talking about before, Bonnie, and,
Yes.
maybe just knowing sometimes without having to ask us.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. John, go ahead, finish.
One more piece, and I loved how you said that, Sigurlin. I think our food is medicine posture, for instance. It's robust, but we still need to get out to our membership. And at the end of the day, it's about how we can help people along that journey so they understand how important nutrition aspect is. And I'll say real quick, Garni, I'll just mention, for you to get access to a registered dietitian, an RD, you need to basically have a diabetes diagnosis already. Well, at that point, right? Why aren't we starting that earlier so that we are helping to prevent that diagnosis as opposed to just helping someone along after they've already gotten it?
Preventive would be very helpful for a lot of people who are going headlong into situations, symptoms, diseases they didn't know about, they didn't think about, and lifestyle is very, very important. I want to thank all of you so much. This has been very, very interesting. I want to bring up one point we didn't really talk about that's a concern for patients, I think for all of us, is the privacy of our data. And the question of what happens if AI gets involved in documentation, Sigurlin. What happens if it gets involved in patient records and empathy? And if you're talking to a chatbot, where is it going? We know Alexa records us. We know you can go on your Amazon account and see everything you said to Alexa and every answer. Well, what about privacy? What about HIPAA? Is it HIPAA, hooray, AI? Maybe we need a new word for HIPAA. I don't know. I know I was horrified once when my mom was having a procedure in a hospital. We were in a waiting room. I think it was a problem with her eye, and they announced her name over the loudspeaker where hundreds of people were in this upper floor of this big major Long Island hospital. And she and I did a TV show together, and I didn't want people to know. She wanted her privacy and said, as Ruth with her last name, are you ready for whatever? Go to room such and such. And I was horrified. So privacy is probably an issue. Joe, you want to come back and do a part 2 on this with everybody? We've got to go in 1 minute. Joe, you want to come back in the fall? What do you think? Everybody want to come back and do a part 2? I'd love to have you all. Yes? Okay. Aparna, you get the last word. Go. 10 seconds. Go.
Yeah, it goes under the zero trust technologies, data privacy. So you need to build in the right framework before you can really adopt AI.
There you go. Now, I have an exercise for all of you, and thank you all for joining me. Don't go away. We'll talk afterwards. I want you to all raise your finger, and on the count of 3, you're going to join me in a very loud no, no, no. Okay? People say the future is already here, and our answer is 1, 2, 3. No!
No.
I can't hear you. No. That was yesterday's future. That was the future of the sentence I just said, which is now in the past. Oh my goodness, right, John? That's a comment, semicolon, that's gone. We're all here, really, to try and make it a better one. Bonnie D signing off. Everybody wave goodbye, LinkedIn, wave goodbye, Facebook, wave goodbye, YouTube, wave goodbye, Voice America Business. Matt, are we out?
All clear.
Okay.